Hello and a very warm welcome to Tech Circle. You're listening to the latest episode of Tech This Week, where we bring you the weekly roundup of all the major developments in the space of tech startups, enterprise technology, and policy. I'm Shweta Sharma, and joining me are my colleagues Payal Ganguly, Anand J, and Supriya Roy. So, earnings season for the first quarter of FY 2021 kicked off with IT bellwether TCS announcing its results last evening. The Mumbai headquartered IT major announced almost a 14% dip in its profit year on year, and there was a slight increase in the revenue. So, Anand, this was very well in the cards considering the quarter was mostly COVID hit?
I guess so. Some analysts were expecting somewhere in the range of 3 to 6, where some analysts were predicting somewhere between 5 to 8. So this 6% was the actual drop in revenue in constant currency for the quarter. So even though it might look like the company actually did report a 0.4% increase in rupee terms, that's because most of the revenue for these IT companies are coming from overseas, which is always dollar denominated, and rupee has had a steep fall during this quarter because of COVID issue. So in revenue, the company did well according to rupee terms, but if you look at dollar terms, the company profit fell by 21%. In rupee terms, it was again 14% drop. So it's a big setback, but mostly along expected lines. What is even more worrying is the company saw a decline of 27% in the Indian market, which is by far the steepest fall. For instance, its largest market, US, fell only 6%, which is by far the most affected country in terms of COVID crisis. UK fell only by 8.5% or so. And other Asian markets saw a fall of just 3 to 4% again. So the India fall could be a harbinger of things to come for non-IT companies as well in the country. Coming back to TCS, if you look at quarter-on-quarter growth, the company again reported a decline even in rupee terms. So that shows that the quarter ending March 31st was actually better than the current quarter, even though most companies regularly report Q-on-Q growth. IT companies actually. So the company is expecting the revenue to go back to where it was by Q3 or Q4 during the current financial year. So, but overall, for the full year, it will still be a decline for the company. The most notable fact here is BFSI, which is by far the most important sector, along with retail. BFSI declined by 5%, while retail declined by 13%. The only silver lining here is healthcare and life sciences, pharma, these sectors are growing. They, I think, grew by 13% or so. So, and the deal flow is actually very good, which grew by 20% in dollar terms year over year. But the thing is, with the current COVID crisis, you never know whether these deal signings will actually turn into billable revenues, because there will be renegotiations for these contracts. Some you cannot execute in a timely manner. So if it's a $1 billion, it will be spread over 3 years or 5 years and things like that. So you never know what will happen in the next few quarters or next few years.
We're also expecting the other IT majors, Wipro, Mindtree, HCL, Infosys, to announce their results next week. Looks like we're expecting similar degrowth across verticals. What do you think, Anand?
Yes, definitely. Cognizant has a very high exposure to US. Wipro also has somewhat a higher exposure to US. And other smaller companies, the mid-tier IT companies like Mindtree, Mphasis, CN, they all have a higher exposure to US. So these companies could see a steeper fall in their revenue. And Cognizant probably could have some buffer because the company has a higher share in healthcare and life sciences division. So, but again, what we could see, like the story we did this week, it could be somewhere in the range of 5 to 15%, depending upon that particular firm's performance and all that. Anyway, to discuss this issue today, we have Gartner analyst, senior director and analyst, D.D. Mishra with us. Hello, Mishra. What do you expect to see from other IT companies? When do you see the recoveries starting to happen?
TCS results are indicating the pressure IT industry is experiencing globally. Most verticals we see are impacted, and Gartner has already predicted the negative end user spending growth in IT services, which is close to 8%. Many deals are getting renegotiated. But simultaneously, there are some good news for IT service providers. We see demand for offshoring has increased. In addition, we also see vendor consolidation initiatives undertaken by some customers. Demand for migration to cloud, cybersecurity, and work from home capabilities are also increasing. If we look at overall picture, we see many providers are ready to tap the opportunities and trying to create a post-COVID narrative for survival and growth. Moreover, based on the information we have as of now, the recovery will start from 2021 unless the situation worsens from here. This is an evolving situation though, and there are many variables.
Thanks, Mr. Mishra. That's all from our side for IT results as of now. We will see how the IT results are coming up next week, and we will have more for you.
All right, Anand, moving on. Another development this week was e-commerce major Flipkart investing 260 crore rupees to acquire a significant minority stake in Arvind Youth Brands, which is a subsidiary of Arvind Fashions. Payal, what do you think the deal means for Flipkart?
Well, Shweta, given the current scenario, retail has taken a huge hit because of the COVID-19 related lockdown, and the market will take time to recover if it does at all. In fact, we're seeing more offline retailers looking for partnerships where they can sell online because we don't expect people to go back to malls, and the offline stores are also experiencing really low footfalls. Now, Flipkart has acquired a 27% stake in the Arvind Youth Brands, which is a subsidiary of Arvind Fashions, and owns the extremely popular denim brand, which is a mid-market brand, Flying Machine, which will get to sell exclusively online on Myntra and Flipkart. Flying Machine as a brand itself is worth almost 500 crore, and it will give Arvind a leg up in its fashion business because the business itself saw a slump of 35% in the last quarter for the fiscal year ending March 31, 2020. So it is as much a lifeline for Arvind as it is an opportunity for Flipkart.
Looks like there will be more such deals, right? Where brands seek out online partnerships and routes. Can you tell us a bit more on that point, Payal?
Sure. So Priya, actually, in fact, we've seen premium brands scouting for online tie-ups as part of their digital push after the COVID-19 pandemic started. And we've also seen brands like H&M, which joined the bandwagon with an exclusive deal to sell on Myntra last year. While right now, because of the lockdown, we've seen someone like a British retailer, Marks and Spencers, which launched their website during the lockdown. More such deals and partnerships are definitely in the card because the world of physical and online retail seem to be merging.
All right, moving on. This week, Yota Infrastructure Solutions launched what is claimed to be India's largest data center facility in the Panvel area, which is in the outskirts of Mumbai. It's a tier 4 data center called Yota NM1. And it looks like a very timely development considering the surge in demand for digital transformation due to remote working.
Yes, I mean, considering that all countries these days are looking at data residency, data sovereignty rules, I mean, at least all these customers can't now, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp, they can't claim that there isn't enough data center infrastructure in India not to do data residency. This week also, so Oracle launching a cloud at customer initiative, which will see them putting all their public cloud technologies within the customer's data centers. So there are more reasons now to move to cloud within all the data residency regulations.
In another news, telecom giant Bharti Airtel also deployed its open cloud-based network, which will be backed by Nokia's cloud band-based software products. So how do you think Airtel is going to leverage this?
Airtel always had a very large B2B customer base owing to its telecom infrastructure and network. Remember earlier days we used to have all these conference calls, telecom conference call routed through all these players. So this will again is run using Nokia technology, considering that there is a ban on all China technologies these days all over the world. This will be a very good platform for both companies in this remote working situation where a lot of calls and data is moving the work to employees' homes.
In another major development this past week at Tech Circle, our colleague Binu exclusively reported on the newly revised pay structure for its summer placement offers at big data analytics firm Mu Sigma. The incoming batch of employees will have to pay a heavy financial penalty of 15 lakh rupees for breach of contract. The batch, about 750 of them, were informed of the modification of the pay structure during a webinar hosted by the company's leadership late June.
And to wrap up this edition of Tech This Week, let's shift gears to the week's most important deals in the technology startups ecosystem.
First up, we have Bengaluru-based Pactora, which owns and operates software-as-a-service startup Zementum. The company raised $4.1 million in a seed funding round from Accel and Saif Partners to fuel its expansion plans.
Next, we had technology-based NBFC iFinance's $16.75 million debt fund raised from Frankfurt-headquartered impact investor Invest Envisions. It comes back-to-back as the Gurugram-based company only finished raising $28 million in its Series E funding around late June.
And finally, we had co-living startup Zolo Stays scoop up a $56 million investment from returning investors InvestCorp, venture capital firm Nexus Venture Partners, Mirai Assets, and others in its Series C round of funding.
And you forgot Unacademy and PrepLadder deal, Supriya. The $50 million gave further headway to all the consolidation talks in India's edtech sector. This is Unacademy's fourth acquisition so far as the company pursues an inorganic growth strategy. So yes, do stay tuned in for more interesting news and updates to techcircle.in, and many thanks for listening.